Now, Lowcountry Forever, a public affairs presentation of the Charleston Radio Group.
Coming up September 24th, there's an event that you want to be a part of if you want to help kids in the Lowcountry, and I know you do. I'm Brian Cleary. Today on Lowcountry Forever, we're joined by the Executive Director of the Carolina Children's Charity. Sonja Beale joins us. Sonja, thanks so much, first of all, for taking the time to join us today on Lowcountry Forever.
Brian, thanks for having me.
Everybody should know what you're about, but it's possible that somebody doesn't. We have a lot of new people coming to the area. How would you describe to folks who aren't aware of what the Carolina Children's Charity is, what you guys do?
So for 34 years, we've been serving children of the Lowcountry with birth defects and childhood diseases. Children who reside in Berkeley, Dorchester, Charleston, or Colleton County can apply to the charity for grant funding to cover items or services that are medically necessary or medically beneficial. So we help children with equipment, special supplies, therapy, out-of-town lodging if they're seeing a specialist somewhere else to manage their care. So a lot of different categories that we cover to assist children. As you know, having a child with special health care needs is very expensive. So we are the answer for families when no one else is here. And we are a unique local charity, one of a kind.
And we want to raise as much money as possible to help this local charity. So you've got the 19th annual 5K partial trail run coming up on September 24th. Tell us a little bit about the run.
So we're very excited. So this is an event that is at Palmetto County Park. It is a timed race. People can also walk the 5K if they are a fast walker, or there's a 2-mile fun run that was kind of designed for anyone to walk, our families with special needs, or just someone who wants to take a casual walk to support the charity. They can come join us and do the fun walk. The trails are beautiful. I don't know if any of the listeners have ever been there, but it has all these beautiful boardwalks and views of the water, and it's just a gorgeous venue. We have our event on the meadow, and it runs all throughout the park.
Now, you guys over the course of the year will have 2-3 big events. This is one of your big ones, and you've been doing it for a while. If I've read right, the 19th annual race?
Correct. It is our 19th annual event. We started out as a bigger race in another part of town and have been in Mount Pleasant for many years. Like I said, a very wonderful venue and a great setting. And we provide a variety of other fun activities. Not only can people come out and run, but they can do a lot of other fun things that morning when they join us.
So it's really going to be a big day of family fun. So for people like me who are lazy and don't run the 4-minute mile or anything like that, I can come out now. If someone is interested in being a part of the run, what's the best way for them to get registered and get signed up?
So they can access our website, carolinachildren.org, and there is a link under the Care Give Run section of our website. They can register on Eventbrite.
So the run again is coming up on September the 24th. It'll be at Palmetto Islands County Park in Mount Pleasant. We're talking with Sonja Beale. She's the Executive Director of Carolina Children's Charity here on Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary, and Sonja, you guys have done an amazing job since 1987 raising millions of dollars that have been given back locally. So people, I think, wow, Carolina Children's Charity, that must be a big organization, hundreds of employees. And then people find out that's not exactly the case. Talk a little bit about your huge staff.
So there are 2 of us and a large working board and a very supportive community. So we have a lot of volunteers that come out and support us at our events, and a lot of local businesses that have been our sponsors and supporters for years. And takes a lot of people to raise a lot of money, not just the 2 of us, but like I said, we rely on the generosity and support of so many people because we are very small.
And I think people may associate a lot of folks here who have been around in the Lowcountry for a while, go Carolina Children's Charity, firemen, because they know the boot drives that have been done. Talk a little bit about that relationship and how that became about and how the firemen have really supported the Carolina Children's Charity.
Absolutely. So in 1987, when we were started, a group of volunteers and a group of firefighters started the charity to keep all of the money that was raised local. So since that time, the firefighters do their annual boot drive for the charity, and people drop money in the boots, and every penny, nickel, dime, quarter helps. over the last couple of years, the face of that event has changed, especially with the pandemic, but we are looking forward to having our annual boot drive again in 2023. We do have a great relationship with the fire departments, and they continue to be very supportive of us during any challenges that we may have. Like I said, exchanging money during this pandemic that we've been living in was very difficult. So that wasn't something we were able to do.
We all hate to talk about it, but you did bring up the P word, so we must. The pandemic, obviously, for an organization like you that relies on, just like you were talking about, exchange of money like that, volunteers, events that raise money, this has had to been a kind of challenging 18 months to 2 years for the organization. How have you managed to plow through and continue forward?
I think, Brian, just kind of working hard, working smart, looking at the ways that you could continue to support the kids and try to bring in money, some grant writing, virtual fundraising. We had this event virtually. We also had a virtual auction. So I think it was trying to be very creative and not just sit back because the money wouldn't come in if we weren't actually trying to bring it in some way. And then last year in October, we really kind of got back to our normal fundraising activity with 3 fundraisers in the month of October. And now we're pretty much getting back on track. But like I said, it does take a village. It takes tons of people to support us.
Obviously, when we talk about the charity, the money is the most important aspect because that's how we're able to help the children and the families. But for somebody listening who wants to support the Carolina Children's Charity, you mentioned volunteers, what is it that you have needs for your organization that maybe somebody listening can help with?
I think time and talent are always very important to an organization. So if somebody is an artist and they do face painting, we're always looking for people to come out to our events and add to our events, as an in-kind donation of their time and their skills. Just volunteering, come and helping us give out water, or working a jump castle, or helping with signage, helping with parking. So anybody, I would say teenagers above that may be listening, and their parents, they can contact us and figure out ways that they may want to get involved. Somebody may want to be our mascot at an event. We're always looking for something. And then around the holidays, a lot of people decide that they're going to give like gift cards and things that we can use for our auction. Not everything that we get is monetary. Like I said, we receive a lot of in-kind donations that are very much appreciative and very important to our work.
This is Lowcountry Forever, and I'm Brian Cleary. Today on Lowcountry Forever, we're talking about the Carolina Children's Charity. Sonja Beale, the executive director of the organization, joins us. You've mentioned it a couple of times, and I think it's important to stress because people give money to a charity. They always want to know where it's going, and the fact that you've been able to keep the money that people give local just really makes the Carolina Children's Charity something unique. So people know that when they give the money, correct, that it's staying here in the Tri-County in our area.
Absolutely. And I think another thing that people are always interested to know is when we provide grants to the children, we don't actually give the money. There's no exchange of money between the families and the charity. We pay all of our vendors and suppliers directly. So that is something that I think people are always interested in knowing. So if a child has diabetes and they need medications, they call me and say, our supplies are ready. And then I call in payment to the pharmacy or the vendor. So that has allowed us to build a great reputation in the community, and for people to know that if they truly do give us money, that they know exactly where it's going.
If we flip this around a little bit, someone's listening and they have a son or daughter, they have a child who they think the Carolina Children's Charity may be able to help. What does that family need to do?
They can contact myself or Shannon through our website. Our information is on there. Families can refer themselves. They always need a letter of medical necessity or maybe letters from therapists to support their application, but they can contact us and see if we would be able to assist them with whatever need that they have. If they have a need that we can't assist them with, then we may talk with them about other things that they are providing for their child, and that way we can work with them and say, maybe we can't do A, but we could do B. And that will allow them to have money and redirect it in their own budget if we can pick up like a medication or a therapy or a piece of equipment, something of that nature.
There's got to be some very great satisfaction in the work that you do, knowing that you're helping families and children here in our community. And I would think that would be another reason for folks to volunteer, because I guess you come out to a Carolina Children's Charity event, there's sometimes the opportunity to meet the families who are directly helped. And I have to think that that's a pretty good feeling, knowing that, hey, there is the son, there is the daughter, there's the child that your efforts have specifically helped.
I absolutely agree. I think that that's one reason that people should come out to the Care Give Run. A lot of our diplomats, we refer to children that we help as diplomats. A lot of our diplomats and their families come out to the event so they can see the children that benefit from us. That's my favorite part of my job, is seeing what we have done to make a difference in the life of a child. And over the years, I've seen children that have learned to walk and talk, children that were nonverbal learn to sing. It's amazing the way the children can grow and develop when given a little bit of extra assistance with whatever they need. So it's very heartwarming. It almost makes me cry when I talk about it, just because of the reward and the warm feeling that you get from making a difference. And people can make a difference in a small little way. A couple dollars can all add up, and it really does go for a good cause right here in our community.
Giving really does feel good. So whether it's you giving of your time, giving of your efforts. Sonja, one more time, why don't you run down the details? Saturday, September 24th, we want to get as big a crowd out as we can. Tell us all about the run in the event.
They'll come to Palmetto County Park. They should have pre-registered online. We are doing registration the morning of at 8 o'clock for about 45 minutes. But that goes by very fast. We'll have jump castles, service masters bringing their ice cream truck. We're going to have chicken and waffles from Pickin' Chicken. We're going to have 2 bands, multiple mascots, a lot of vendors. And once you pay that registration fee, all the other items and activities are going to be for free. People can stay at the park as long as they want once they get there. So our event will be from 8 o'clock when the doors open till around 11. It's so much fun packed in. A lot of people will be giving out things, and we'll have water and fruit and all the other traditional run and walk food. But the unique part of our event is all the little extra things we do: popcorn, snow cones, and fun.
And that's the whole point here, because if you're thinking about, oh, this event is a serious run, you've got to be in shape. Hey, that's great if you are, but this is really just a great morning of fun for everybody's entire family.
And the one thing that we need is for this event to grow. So if people are interested, we really hope that they will register. They can register online until Tuesday, September 20th. They can go to our website and link up with that Eventbrite link and register. And it's affordable. We've kept it affordable over the years so that families could participate.
And you don't need to wait till September 20th. Today would be a great day to do it at carolinachildren.org. Now, Sonja, have you got some support? Are there some sponsors and some folks who have stepped up to help you out with this year's event?
Absolutely. We are so grateful for all of our sponsors. Our platinum sponsor for this event is Vertical Bridge. But we have a lot of loyal other businesses in the community that have supported us for years. The list goes on and on. Everybody that is supporting us and supporting our charity, they mean so much to us, and they're part of our legacy. We could not do this without our loyal business sponsors, and we have many, many people that have supported us for many, many years, and we need for that to continue. But we need people also to come out and have fun.
And that's what it really seems to be when you talk about the Carolina Children's Charity. It's about the community, the entire Lowcountry coming together, because we're talking about helping local kids and families.
Absolutely. It's about local people helping local children. And it could be somebody that lives next door to you, somebody that goes to your church, somebody in the community that needs our help, and you can make a difference.
You can find a link to the event on the events page of the Charleston Radio Group station that you're listening to right now. Sonja Beale, the Executive Director of the Carolina Children's Charity, and our guest today on Lowcountry Forever.
The Charleston Radio Group is the Lowcountry. Every week, we highlight local organizations and events that are helping to make a difference here where we live. If you have a group, event, or an idea to feature on Lowcountry Forever, let us know. Visit lowcountryforever.com and click on our podcast link for contact information. Now, Lowcountry Forever continues.
It's September. It's a month that you may not realize is Kinship Care Month, and that's our subject today here on Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary, joined by Kim Clifton. Kim is the executive director of HALOS. We've always loved to talk about your organization, but we haven't gotten every single person in the Lowcountry. It's our goal to get them educated on what HALOS is. So let's start there. For someone who's not familiar with the organization, how do you describe HALOS?
At HALOS, we provide services and resources to kinship caregivers, and most people don't know what a kinship caregiver is, and that's someone who has taken in a grandparent who's taken in a grandchild, or it can be an aunt or uncle or family friend who's taken in a child that's not their own to raise, so that the child or children can avoid foster care.
And I mentioned September. The good news is the governor has signed the proclamation, so we are in Kinship Care Month. What does that mean for your organization, and what do you hope to accomplish over the next couple of weeks throughout the month of September?
The goal of Kinship Care Month nationally, and definitely here in South Carolina, is to raise awareness of actually how many kinship families there are in South Carolina and throughout the states. It's a huge population, and the number of children in kinship care is definitely a significant part of the population of children in our country and in our state. And because they don't receive the same supports and resources that other families may, these kids often can slip through the cracks. Families have needs that could be met by organizations. People are just generally unaware that these kinship families exist and that they have special needs or issues.
And when somebody hears you say that, they may think, well, no, the government's got a lot of money they're given and stuff. But it almost seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we kind of do it backwards, because the money, as it should be, is given to foster care, things like that. Mm-hmm. But in these situations, in my mind, in my heart anyway, it's always, boy, if you can keep the child within that family unit, that's a better place, but you're not seeing the funding as much for that as we might need.
That's absolutely right. A lot of research now tells us that staying with family is actually better for children for a lot of different reasons. They have fewer mental health issues, fewer behavioral issues. They're able to stay connected to their community. They're more likely to stay in the same school. Siblings are more likely to stay together, because you can imagine if you had to take your grandchildren in, or nieces and nephews, you're going to take them all together. You're not going to split kids up if you're taking in family. So for a lot of different reasons, it's better for kids to stay with family. Most importantly, really what we see anecdotally is because they belong. They know they're loved. They know somebody wanted them. But what happens is if grandparents or other relatives step in first, before the child has to go into foster care, most often that means that caregiver will not become a licensed foster parent and will not receive any funding at all to help with the child. There's a small national Hanith Grant, which is temporary aid to needy families that caregivers can access, but it tops out at about $200 a month. It doesn't increase with each child.
On the surface, somebody might say, well, if that boy or girl goes with their grandparents, they know their grandparents, and grandparents have been taking care of them forever anyway. But it's really a different scenario. You're actually going from being a grandparent to a parent.
That's a big issue that is discussed with kinship care, and why kinship care is different from stranger foster care, because you do have a relationship. The caregiver does have a relationship with the biological parent. Usually it is a child of theirs, usually it is a grandparent, but often it's, you're taking in your siblings' kids or a family friend or your godchildren. And yes, you know them and love them, but you didn't know that you would be a full-time parent. I've heard from so many grandparents who've said things like, I just want to be a grandparent. I want to love them and see them on the weekends and spoil them and send them home. But they become that parent, and they have to be more disciplined. They have to set down rules, and it really can change the whole family dynamic, the extended family dynamic. Other grandchildren may be jealous. Why does this child get to live with grandma? Siblings of the parent who's not taking care of their children might get resentful and angry that you put grandma in this position. So many family dynamics that are involved in kinship care that I don't think most people understand or recognize that you wouldn't see in stranger foster care.
And so you have that emotional thing, but there's also, I'm assuming, a financial challenge as well, because all of a sudden you've got 7 days a week, it's every meal, it's worried about college, it's worrying about everything, right?
School supplies, holiday gifts, medical needs, educational needs, the list goes on and on, anything you would need for a child. And most grandparents, we're seeing it trend a little bit younger, but they still tend to be 55 and older, and many are at or past retirement age. And I just heard the other day, actually, in one of our support group meetings, somebody say, I was supposed to be retiring, but they have to postpone retirement. Oftentimes we see grandparents with grandchildren living off of just Social Security, which is a very small amount of money. I've seen a family of 3 live off $1,278 a month. And it's a lot of scrambling by grandma to make sure they have enough to eat, make sure they have everything they need. And she's done a beautiful job. And that's the thing about the families we see. There's so much love there and desire to do the right thing and to make a good life for the kids that they care for. But there's a huge lack of money. We know statistically and in South Carolina, kinship caregivers tend to have much lower incomes than biological families. And they face a lot of obstacles. Kinship caregivers tend to have poor health, definitely have lower incomes. There are lots of different obstacles they face in caring for children.
September is Kinship Care Month, and we're talking about that today on Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary, joined by Kim Clifton. She is the executive director of HALOS. As we speak about this, Kim, I'm a little surprised, and I don't know if there's a reason or anything you can point to. Kinship care people are older adults and not someone in their 30s or 40s.
Well, grandparents are more likely to step up because there are a lot of obstacles with taking children in, emotional, financial. Grandparents, though, are the ones who, and this is the honest truth, I've heard through my 15 years working with kinship families, the same phrase over and over again, I didn't want my babies to go into foster care. They tend to have the closest connection to their grandchildren and will forego anything for themselves to take the children in. We often see older caregivers that don't treat their own health needs, aren't looking out for themselves because everything goes into the care of the children. I will say what's interesting is more and more we're seeing younger caregivers where aunts and uncles are taking children in, even older siblings. We're working with several families where the older sibling who's 19, 20, and 21 has taken in younger siblings so that those siblings won't go into foster care. And they're just trying to get their life together and get settled and keep a job and keep an apartment. And then suddenly they have 2 or 3 kids with them, and it can be a real struggle. And another interesting thing we've seen is many people who've become first-time parents because they've taken in the children of a loved one, whether it's a niece, nephew, multiple children. And it's a real shock for them, not only financially when they've only had to worry about themselves, but suddenly they're parenting and they didn't plan on parenting. They haven't thought about parenting. They don't have parenting skills. And it's not a thing you can build up to. It can happen overnight. Can you come get these children? And boom, they're in your house.
I have to think that everyone would agree keeping a family unit together is the highest priority. That's what HALOS is trying to do. So for someone listening today, what is it that I could do to assist HALOS? I'm sure donate financially is the first, but what other steps should I take?
Sign up for our newsletter to learn more about what's going on, events. We'll have our holiday campaign starting in December. Share this information. Tell people about HALOS. Everyone listening knows a kinship family. Everyone. We either have it in our own families. We see it with the kids our children are friends with. It's everywhere. And just be aware of it and aware that when you meet these people, they are really going through something very unique and something very challenging and special. And they just respond to kindness and understanding. That's a hard job. And for service providers to understand that sometimes we need to adapt our services to adjust to what the kinship family needs because it is a unique situation.
If someone does want to make a financial contribution to HALOS, what's the best avenue for them to take to make that happen?
They can go to our website at charlestonhalos.org, and there's very clear instructions on how to donate.
You mentioned the fact that the holiday program would be coming up. So if I'm someone who would like to help out, maybe I don't have the cash to do that, what is it that I could do to get involved with a holiday program or another event that you have?
We will need volunteers. We collect gifts for children. We actually will match a donor to a child, and you can buy for that specific child. And if you'd like to get part of that, again, you can sign up for our newsletter, or you can email Cassidy, CASSIDY, at charlestonhalos.org.
So you'll see a lot of love, a lot of sharing, a lot of caring that comes out for the holidays, but HALOS 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You guys are always
Absolutely.
doing things. What is it that you're doing throughout the year people may be able to step up and help you out with?
We have a family event coming up in the spring. We host 2 family events every year. We always need volunteers for, or just donations. We need diapers all year round, because you can imagine if you were not planning on parenting and you bring an infant into your home and you're living on a fixed income and suddenly you're buying diapers and formula, it gets very expensive. We have other ways to volunteer in our office. And again, Cassidy would be the best person to contact, but you can go straight to our website, get our number, call the office. You can email us. Multiple ways to get in touch to find out what can be done.
Kim Clifton is the Executive Director of HALOS of Charleston here. Our guest today on Lowcountry Forever. It's Kinship Care Month. Kim, the numbers, when you've told them to me, are kind of staggering. I think people don't understand. Maybe they think it's 100, 200 kids. Share some of those numbers, because it's really, I think, a much larger number than people would believe.
In South Carolina, there are an estimated 69,000 children living in kinship care, and that's based on census data, so we know that it's an underestimated number. In the United States, it's really staggering. There are an estimated almost 3 million children living in pure kinship care without a parent present.
And I have to think, having worked with and met some of the kinship care families and the boys and girls who are part of kinship care, not a knock on foster parents, but it's always got to be better for these kids that you see and meet, the fact that they're in kinship care instead of foster care.
There will always be a need and a place for foster care, but it is better for children to be with family whenever they can be. And sometimes just the biggest obstacle is financial and the caregiver needing some emotional support. We provide our core program is called Navigation, where we work with a family, conduct an assessment, and then refer them to services in the community. So we're not duplicating any services. But we know that through studies that kinship caregivers are less likely to know about what resources and services exist, even when they're in their community, because again, their children are grown. They haven't parented for 30 years, or they're first-time parents now with a 12-year-old. So we connect them to local resources, to benefits, help them apply for benefits they may qualify for. And we have 4 support groups monthly, 2 virtual and 2 in person, so that a caregiver can attend for an hour and just talk to other caregivers. They cry, they laugh, they share. The biggest piece of that is, and what I've heard from several caregivers, is we're all in the same boat. We're all going through this together. All of our children are not caring for their own children in a way we would like to see, and so it reduces the stigma for them quite a bit to be with other caregivers.
And so that everybody understands the mission of HALO and what's going on with these kids in kinship care, this isn't always the result of an abuse situation or a drug situation. Sometimes this is instantaneous. Sadly, it happens. A parent gets in a car accident and is killed, and all of a sudden these kinship care parents, it's immediate. It's brand new. Bam, you're a parent.
We've had many families we've worked with over the years where there was a death of the custodial parent or both parents. And so grandma or aunt step in. And that brings up something that kinship care can happen very informally as well. It doesn't have to be involved with the child welfare system. When there is a death in the family, a caregiver or family member generally steps up. That doesn't involve the child welfare system at all. Or even if a parent is struggling, often the family just gets together and joins forces to care for the child. Maybe they live with grandma, but aunts and uncles are in and out of the home helping. That's called informal care, and that's outside of the child welfare system. The main reasons children do end up in kinship care are similar to foster care. It's parental substance abuse, mental illness, or incarceration, or often, some mix of all of that, and parental death, of course. Again, sometimes there's already struggles in the family. The child may have children already experienced some trauma. Kinship caregivers, because they never planned on parenting, unlike a foster parent, they didn't go through training, they haven't set up their house, they weren't prepared. They suddenly have children in their home they love, but who've experienced trauma with no training on how to work with children who've experienced trauma. How do you deal with the behavior, or, a child who's acting out, needs therapy and other resources? So that's always a big issue.
So parenting is tough on just a quote-unquote normal basis, but for a kinship care parent who may have been thrust into this situation unexpectedly, not really have planned and prepared for this, it's got to be a challenge to say the least. So Kim, what can you tell us about these people who are these caregivers?
Caregivers want the best for their children. Often there are just so many obstacles, chiefly financial, but emotional, the dynamics with the family they need support in. It just really hinder what they want to do for the children in their care. Kinship caregivers are heroes. They step in sometimes in the middle of the night, and they're doing their best.
Well, these caregivers really are, at the end of the day, they're heroes, and you can help them out. HALOS is doing
Absolutely.
that. Kim, for people who want to get more information on HALOS, I guess the best thing is to start at your website?
Absolutely. charlestonhalos.org.
And outside of getting in touch with you through your website, how else can we hook up with HALOS?
They can always contact us. There are numbers. They can contact me directly if they'd like. I'm Kim at charlestonhalos.org, but they can find all of our information and contact information right on our website.
In celebration of Kinship Care Awareness Month here in the Palmetto State, Kim Clifton, the Executive Director of HALOS, our guest today on Lowcountry Forever.
Thanks for listening to Lowcountry Forever. If you missed any of this week's show, there's a complete recording under the podcast link at lowcountryforever.com. Lowcountry Forever is a public affairs presentation of the Charleston Radio Group.